On the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33, and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah, yeah. Live from historic Liberty Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, of course. Wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast at your leisure. This, of course, is a live program, but at your leisure, any day, anytime, you can check out the podcast of this program. Another great show on tap for today. In our second hour, a conversation with Dr. Ian K. Smith, former co-host of the television show The Doctors, author of the best-selling book Shred, The Revolutionary Diet. But now Ian is a novelist, too. His latest is called Beyond Midnight, featuring private investigator Ash Kane. So we'll talk with Dr. Ian K. Smith today in hour two. In our third hour, two conversations. Up first...
Just a minute. Who do you want to see?
I'm Hazel Scott. We're here for the audition.
Oh, Miss Scott. Yes, they're waiting for you. Go right in.
It's always bold for an artist to say that they want to step on the front line or be in the back of the line that urges the crowd to move forward. And Hazel was always ahead of this curve, too.
When I think of Hazel Scott, think of her as a pianist, think of her as an actress, think of her as a singer, think of her as an activist, and you add all those things up, she's absolutely unique.
You have someone, some 70, 80 years ago, who challenged the way blacks were portrayed in media, in Hollywood.
She's at the forefront of what would happen in later decades with the civil rights movement.
There had never been a black performer who had their own show, ever, in television. And here's this glamorous black woman who's breaking all of these barriers with this one TV show.
Let me sing a lullaby, of birdland.
She had incredible confidence, and that would sometimes get her in trouble.
Lullaby of birdland, that's what I...
She was targeted because of her outspokenness on civil rights.
She ripped them to shreds, and it cost her everything.
If you fight the establishment, you're not very popular with it.
Meeting will come to order.
And everything is done to remove you from public memory.
And there's the weepy old willow. He really knows how to cry.
Gregory Gates, executive producer of Image Nation Outdoors, that is, Film and Music Festival. And Nicole London, the Emmy Award-winning and Grammy-nominated director of the documentary The Disappearance of Miss Scott. Preview this weekend's free outdoor screening of the film in Harlem's Marcus Garvey Park. So we'll talk to Gregory Gates and Nicole London on the top side of Hour 3 about this amazing film called The Disappearance of Miss Scott. On the B side of Hour 3, a career conversation with Abiodun Oyewole, if I can say it. I got to start booking guests whose names I can pronounce. Jay-Z and Faraji, no more guests whose names I cannot pronounce. Just teasing. Abiodun Oyewole, one of the founding members of The Last Poets, and longtime member Umar bin Hassan. They join us on the backside of Hour 3. The Last Poets, in fact, came together back in 1968 in that very same Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem, and have performed in the past at the Image Nation Outdoors Film and Music Festival. Look forward to that conversation again on the B side of Hour 3. In this first hour, two more conversations on the B side of this hour. Ken Makin, cultural commentator for the Christian Science Monitor, connects the current attacks on the Smithsonian to a recent conversation with his 7-year-old son about slavery and freedom. Ken wrote a powerful piece about that conversation with his son for the Christian Science Monitor, and so we'll let him unpack it for us on the backside of this hour. You want to hear that, so don't move. All that said, we commence today's show in conversation with Mitch Landrieu, former mayor of the Big Easy, former lieutenant governor of Louisiana, and former senior advisor to President Joe Biden. A lot to talk to Mitch about in this half hour. Before I get to the Hurricane Katrina stuff 20 years later, the primary reason I wanted Mitch on this program, we'll get to Hurricane Katrina again 20 years later, but I wanted Mitch on for that. But also, this is breaking news today that I want to get Mitch's take on when we come forward here in just a second. Let me just set the story up, and then I'll cut Mitch loose when we come forward. So you've probably seen the stories everywhere now that Donald Trump has announced he is firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Lisa Cook is the first and only African-American woman to serve on the powerful Federal Reserve. Its chairman, as you well know, is Jerome Powell. So Donald Trump has decided he wants to fire her effective immediately. He posted all this, of course, on Truth Social last night. In the letter to her, he writes, pursuant to my authority under Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, as amended, you are hereby removed from your position on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve effective immediately. He's firing her for what he refers to as a criminal referral by the Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Pulte. Of course, Mr. Pulte works for Mr. Trump. And they are suggesting that she was dishonest in a mortgage filing. And this is not the first person. She is the first African-American woman to serve on the Federal Reserve, but she's not the first person that Trump has gone after of late using the notion of what they filed on a mortgage form. So there's a legitimate question to be asked, and I'm going to ask you right now, why are all these leading Democrats suddenly facing mortgage fraud charges? Now, first of all, Mr. Pulte, I just mentioned, is behind this. He's a Trump appointee. But do you know how much paperwork you got to go through, how far back you got to dig to go through people's housing mortgage filings? It is just another weapon that Donald Trump and the administration are using to get rid of people they don't like. And so many of them, wait for it, happen to be African Americans. So today it's Lisa Cook. A couple of days ago was Letitia James, the AG, of course, in New York State. They've used the same argument against Adam Schiff, senator from California, who's not, of course, an African American. But this is the new weapon, right? Mortgage filings. And they go through these things with a fine-tooth comb and find something that they argue that you were not, quite frankly, on top of or honest about. And then that becomes the issue for pushing you out of a powerful post at the Federal Reserve. Lisa Cook has said, essentially, I ain't going nowhere. And this has set up a major, major fight. I just read she's now going to sue Donald Trump. So this is about to get ugly. And this sister, Lisa Cook, is not backing down. We'll talk to Mitch Landrieu about that and Hurricane Katrina 20 years later. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do you do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Mitch Landrieu, as I mentioned earlier, the former mayor of the Big Easy, former lieutenant governor of Louisiana, former top official in the Biden-Harris White House. Mitch, how are you, sir? It's been too long, my friend.
Hey, Tavis, how you doing, my friend? I miss you.
I miss you back, man. I'm good, man. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. It's good to hear your voice, man. I have such great respect for Mitch Landrieu, and of course, his sister was a U.S. senator out of Louisiana. His father, Moon Landrieu, was the mayor of New Orleans before Mitch was. He's quite of a family, part of a family with a grand legacy in the state of Louisiana, and I'm always honored to be in conversation with anybody whose last name is Landrieu. Mitch, let me jump right in and make the most of the time that we have. This story about Lisa Cook it's got legs. It's growing literally by the hour. Now we're told, as I mentioned a moment ago, that she's going to sue them. But her lawyer, Abby Lowell, very a famed, of course, lawyer in Washington D.C. circles, has made it clear that Donald Trump really has no authority to do this. And the argument that they're making is bogus. They would argue, I suspect. But what do you make of the fact that these loan papers have become the new tool, the new weapon?
It's the new poll test.
Yeah.
Tavis, you got me so riled up. I listened to all the things you said before I got on.
Yeah.
First of all, I've been at the Marcus Garvey Theater in Harlem, and I can't wait for them to show that thing about Dorothy Scott.
Oh yeah.
Because when they say they were gonna erase her, and then you talked about the Smithsonian and the executive order trying to get them to redo history. a lot of this is just about erasure. And the problem is that Donald Trump is for himself. He's forgetting using the power of the presidency the wrong way to enrich himself and his friends, and then to hurt people that don't like him or that speak against him or that disagree with him. And that's the big picture, number one. Number two, he always wants to distract from the fact that his presidency is a failed presidency. He ran and he said that he was going to reduce everybody's costs, okay? And costs are up for working people, especially for people of color in America. So he is trying to distract by doing all these things. Now, a couple of things that he's doing, right, is he's gone after anybody, whether they're white or black, that disagree with him. But it can't be lost on the fact that they let go Charles Brown, who was the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
That's right.
They've gone after LA, Chicago, Detroit, DC. They fired the Library of Congress, who was a woman of color. They've gone after the Attorney General. And as it is racial in that sense, and directly so, but it is also much bigger than that. And it's more than just about race. He will use any tool and he will use any means to not only get rid of somebody who disagrees with him, but the second part of it, here's where the okie doke comes in. What he's really looking to do is replace them with someone who is a yes person for anything he wants to do, because he thinks that he's an imperial president. And so as it gets to Lisa Cook, first of all, the Fed is supposed to be independent.
That's right.
I don't think Lisa Cook works for the president. And I think that's what her lawyer is trying to say. She can only be removed for cause. And you can't just go make up something, that doesn't have any legs, and there's no evidence to support it, and there's no basis to remove her. So I kind of don't think he can do it. This is clearly going to get litigated in the court. But this is all part of an intimidation policy from him to try to accumulate more power so that he can impose his will on the American people and eviscerate the checks and balances. And essentially, he's doing it to cover up the fact that his presidency has been failed up to this point in time.
Yep. So Lisa Cook, to quote her directly, has said, President Trump, these are her words, President Trump purported to fire me. And let me pause for a second. He said effectively immediately in his post. She is saying he purported to fire me, because so you got this standoff here. Trump is essentially Trump
you can't fire somebody. Wait, Tavis, you can't fire somebody that don't work.
That don't work for you, exactly. So
I mean, the president, Donald Trump, is a knucklehead.
Yeah.
This guy thinks, no, seriously, the president, in his mind, he's so delusional that he thinks that if he sits at the Resolute desk and signs a piece of paper that says, "I, Donald Trump, ordain that the world is round," that it is thereby round. And you go, well, Mr. President, I hate to tell you, but seriously, the world is not. The world is flat.
Exactly.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, the world is not flat. The world is round.
Yeah.
He goes, no, but I want it to be round. So yes, sir. I mean, I want it to be flat. So yes, sir, I understand that, but that's really not what it is. And he just kind of, in his mind, somebody has told him that he was a king, and he's just not.
Yep.
So we have a separation of powers. We have checks and balances. And by the way, even if he did have the authority to do it, it is really bad for the economy. For the president of the United States to have the Federal Reserve under his thumb, because their job is to make sure that inflation stays low so that our costs remain low, and that's what they're supposed to be doing.
And what he ultimately wants, I'll get back to the statement in a second. What he ultimately wants is interest rates to come down. He's been publicly humiliating and embarrassing Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, about this. He wants interest rates down for his own purposes and to keep the big grift going to enrich himself. But he's beating up Jerome Powell, but that's his in the name. So he wants to put somebody on the Fed who will give him what he wants. And if he can replace, here's the rub now, if he can replace Lisa Cook, he now has 4 people on that board. That's what he wants.
Look, listen, he's counting votes. So he went to Georgia after he lost the election, and he said, will somebody find me 13,000 votes?
Right.
Then he went to Texas and said, will somebody find me 5 more congressmen?
That's right.
And now he's gone to the Fed and said, will somebody find me 4 votes? Because he thinks that he knows more than Jerome Powell. Now, listen, when I was a young person, I was buying a house, or today, you want interest rates as low as you possibly can. But let me tell you what you also don't want. You don't want runaway inflation.
That's right.
And what the Fed's supposed to do is balance all of the economic indicators based on apolitical measures that dictate how fast you can get interest rates down. Now, remember, they were up at 9%. When Biden left office, they were at like 2.8. They've been kind of gone up, not down. Inflation has been going up, not down. And Powell and them are trying to balance it. Trump just thinks he knows more than everything else. He wore a hat the other day that said Donald Trump is right about everything all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I respectfully disagree. In other words, what I'm saying is my name is Mitch Landrieu, and I dissent.
Yeah, I get it.
Disagree.
I get it.
So
let me finish this statement right quick. So Lisa Cook's statement is this in toto: President Trump purported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I've been doing since 2022, close quote. So Mitch Landrieu is right. It's going to come down to whether or not he has the authority to fire somebody who doesn't work for him in the first place. That's what we're going to see play out over the next number of days. But again, he's using mortgages now to go after people who he doesn't like, and a number of them happen to be African-American women, history-making black women like Letitia James in New York State, like Lisa Cook at the Fed. There you have it. I digress on that for now. Last word on that piece, Mitch, for you.
Yeah, I would just say, listen, he's clearly doing that because he's got it out and he is in fact targeted people who happen to be people of color. But think about this: if he can do it to them, he can do it to anybody. But the big issue is, can you disappear somebody in the United States from a job or in some other without due process of law? And the president is not a king. He just is not. And I know he wants to be, but we're in the United States of America. And I just think that I respect Lisa, and I think that she's doing right. She's standing on principle. Even if the president had the power, and I don't think he is, it's very unwise to make that decision because it's not going to be good for anybody in our country.
So there's the Lisa Cook story again developing. I'm sure we'll be on this, if not later in today's show, certainly later tomorrow. We'll delve more into what this looks like in the coming days. But for now, take a listen to NBC News from 20 years ago.
This is the scene on Napoleon Avenue. A neighborhood of stately homes flooded to the front door. Choppers above us, our crew drives until we have to walk.
The water is getting too deep, and it's getting deeper. We're told there's a hospital about 6 blocks away, and we're going to try to make it there.
Each encounter gets more and more profound.
We got people in 3-story houses that's still trying to survive in the houses.
An airboat offers to take us to the hospital, but it sinks in the maze of tight corners. We dig the boat out, and Stanley Bordelon, a volunteer who has brought 4 of his airboats to New Orleans, offers us a ride. But just as we reach the front door, we meet Terrence and Victoria Tunson, swimming up to their chins, a young married couple who say they need to find their father stranded at home.
Dad, he's trapped in a house.
Slowly, we reach their street, and it's suddenly clear this neighborhood is packed with people who never left. We finally see Victoria's father. He's built a raft out of the back door and uses it to get to our boat. So does the dog, Scoops. As we head back, we learn the hospital has no patients. They've all been airlifted. But there are 1,000 employees and family members inside waving down at us. Across Orleans Parish, 2,500 patients have been evacuated from hospitals. Finally, on dry ground, Victoria and her father are lucky. They'll try to get to family in Houston. But the hard part is all too clear. Missions like this are going to happen again and again and again.
I've got 5 minutes left, and I want to yield it to the gentleman from New Orleans, Louisiana, named Mitch Landrieu, to offer his reflections 20 years later. 5 minutes, Mitch, they're all yours.
Tavis, that was painful to listen to. My house is 3 blocks. That's my neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was actually probably down the street when that guy was there, that reporter was there on that airboat. That's Baptist Hospital was the name of that place. Listen, it's a bittersweet time for the people of New Orleans. 20 years ago, Katrina came in and busted a hump. 1,400 people were killed. 250,000 houses were lost. You saw the searing pictures of our brothers and sisters on the steps of the Superdome or floating in the water, either dead or in an inner tube trying to save themselves. It was a painful, painful, painful time. But, you know, when that flood of water came in, when those levees broke, which, by the way, was a man-made disaster because those levees were engineered, constructed, and built by the federal government. It wasn't just a storm. You know, we had to pull ourselves back up by our bootstraps. And as that water came in, something else miraculous happened. I mean, people really started helping each other out, lifting each other up. And slowly but surely over the last 20 years, you know, the great city of New Orleans, that I like to think is the soul of America. Like just would not bow down. And we rebuilt our schools, we rebuilt our churches, we rebuilt everything in that city, and now New Orleans is back. And with much help, by the way, and much love to everybody who's listening from all around the country that received us in Atlanta and Houston, in Los Angeles. Now everybody's eating better because the people from New Orleans are cooking for y'all now. But it was that's true. But it was really just an incredible outpouring of love for us, and I just want to thank everybody for sticking with us and being with us, and come see us. We're doing okay now.
Yeah. I have always been concerned for the last 20 years, and I was there 20 years ago, as you may recall, Mitch. My sister was down there, one of my sisters, and she was missing. And I was literally dispatched by my family to be the one to go find her. I literally had to hire a private plane to fly into an airport as close as I could get to New Orleans. And when we were trying to land the plane, I'll never forget it, we were circling the airport, and the pilots were afraid to land because there was so much debris on the runway. Mm-hmm. So we had to figure out how to put that plane down. I didn't want to die trying to find my sister, but we finally got the plane on the ground. The pilots safely landed that aircraft. I got off. And for the next few days, went looking for my sister. We found her, thank God, and I was just with her last week, celebrating my mother's 80th birthday. So I just saw my sister last week, but I was down in that area. So I remember it well. And then Jonathan Demme, the late, great Jonathan Demme, Academy Award winner, director of The Silence of the Lambs, he and I did a documentary series about Katrina when I was at PBS, a multiple-part documentary. So I remember it well. But the thing I was concerned about 20 years ago, and still am, is whether or not New Orleans will retain its culture 20 years later. Some people have left the city. Many have come back. Many have not. Is the city retaining its culture, Mitch?
Yeah, well, first of all, and I say this half in jest, but I mean it more seriously. Our culture is so strong and so deep. Even if people move into the city, we're going to change you before you change us. And we,
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I mean, our red beans and rice and our food and our music and our fun and our architecture and our way of life, which is to find joy even in the pain. The good book says joy cometh in the morning.
That's right.
That is true. But Sam Cooke was also right when he said change is going to come. So the challenge has been how to hold on to all those things that are special and dear. New Orleans is 300 years old. We're older than the country. I mean, we got here in 1718 and formally started just as a port city, was always a city of diversity, a city that was open, a city that really invited people from around the world there. And we still got that swag and we still got that walk. But you got to protect that, and you have to run to the things that make you, spiritually and physically and, who you are, and not let, outside influences come in and turn you into something else. And we work hard at that every day. And, if you come down to New Orleans, you're going to love it. But here's the thing. If you love New Orleans, she's going to love you back harder and better. So everybody's welcome, and, would love to see you.
Speaking of swag, Mitch Landrieu's got all kind of swag. That's why I love this guy, man. He's the smoothest, coolest. I love me some Mitch Landrieu. Mitch, I'll talk to you soon, my friend. Stay strong. Thanks for your time today. All right,
all right,
friend.
Come see me.
I will do that, man. Be well. God bless you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.
BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says they are preparing for any unconstitutional troop deployments after President Trump threatened to send the National Guard.
What this president is attempting to do is not just unconstitutional, but it is very much a threat to our democracy.
Johnson says crime is already down and calls the move political overreach. President Trump is ending immigration programs for Haitians, putting 500,000 at risk of deportation. About 80 Haitian workers in Minnesota alone were recently laid off after losing work permits. Advocates warn of widespread hardship. And actress Patricia Apollonia Cotero is suing Prince's estate, claiming it's trying to claim ownership of her stage name. She's used it for over 40 years. The estate called the lawsuit frivolous and unwarranted. Cotero starred in Prince's 1984 film, Purple Rain. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
As you head into Carson, it looks like a stalled vehicle is in the right lane of the 405 southbound at Avalon Boulevard, so that's causing major delays from the 110. In the Cahuenga Pass, it looks like we have police activity on the 101 southbound before Highland Avenue. CHP may be running a traffic break until the police activity clears, so you're still seeing a bit of a slowdown there right now. And in Anaheim, some good news. An earlier stall has been cleared off the 57 southbound at Ball Road.
Ignite your afternoons at Waba Grill's $5 happy hour with our 5-piece pork veggie dumplings and a value-sized premium one beverage drink, like our tangy passion fruit lemonade. Enjoy $5 happy hour weekdays after 3 p.m. Only at Waba Grill.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Angels manager Ron Washington met with his team before Monday night's game at Texas. He told his players he had quadruple bypass heart surgery on June 30th. It was the first time Washington spoke publicly about the health situation that forced him to leave the team on June 19th. The 73-year-old Washington, one of only 2 black managers in Major League Baseball, has been recovering at his home in New Orleans. Washington said he feels good, but he's been advised to sit out the remainder of the season. Washington hopes he can return next year. Bench coach Ray Montgomery will finish out the season as interim manager. After reconnecting with Washington, the Angels beat Texas 4-0. Venus Williams lost her first-round match Monday night in the U.S. Open to Karolina Muchova of Czechoslovakia. Muchova beat the 45-year-old Williams in 3 sets, 6-3, 2-6, and 6-1. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay! Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
All right, thanks to Mitch Landrieu, former mayor of New Orleans, former lieutenant governor of Louisiana, and former high-ranking official in the Biden White House. Thank Mitch for kicking us off today. Now, we push forward in a conversation with Ken Makin, cultural commentator for the Christian Science Monitor, who connects the current attacks on the Smithsonian to a recent conversation with his 7-year-old son about slavery and freedom. Ken wrote a powerful piece about that conversation for the Christian Science Monitor. I'm glad to have him on to unpack it for us right now. Ken, how are you, sir?
Doing very well, Tavis. How about yourself, my friend?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing well and delighted to be in conversation with you. So the pieces, I always share the names of pieces and tell people where they can find it. I already mentioned, of course, Christian Science Monitor. The piece is titled, "I Told My Son About Slavery, Then I Told Him About Freedom." Once again, it's in the Christian Science Monitor. You can Google it and find it for yourself. I told my son about slavery, then I told him about freedom. Tell me about this conversation, Ken, and then tell me about the piece.
Absolutely. Glad to do it. First of all, I just want to say a huge fan. My dad and I have followed you for years. So this is, like I said, it's wonderful. Glad to be with you to have this conversation.
You're kind. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
As far as the dialogue with my son, and just to give some kind of color and background, we were actually having a family vacation down in LaGrange, Georgia at the Great Wolf Lodge. So rode down with my wife and my 2 kids, my oldest boy being 7 years old. He's the point of reference here in this piece. I have a 7-year-old and 4-year-old. So shout out the family. But we went down to the Great Wolf Lodge. And so we were in striking distance to Montgomery, Alabama, about an hour or so. So, my wife and I wanted to go down to the legacy sites. And so we went down there. We went to the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park, excuse me.
Sure.
And so we went down and we walked through, and as you know, if you're familiar with EJI and the work of Brian Stevenson, he does everything first class. So we walked through and we got to one of the sculptures where one of the sculptures had chains. And so, of course, they're bronze colored and copper colored. So my son asked, he said, and of course they had, African features. So he said, why do those Black people have chains on them? And I kind of stopped in my tracks, even though, we've had conversations obviously before. Believe it or not, he's in 7th grade, but, we've been in spaces where we've had to have those conversations. Mm-hmm. So, I simply told him about, the kind of a brief history of the country, about how, Africans, were formerly enslaved. But I'm always very mindful, and I think this would be a great point of reference for our conversation today, to not only talk about slavery and to not only, to have discussions about Black history through the lens of slavery, but also to talk about freedom, to talk about freedom fighters. Mm-hmm. So I was sure to be able to do that with my son, and was so glad that at the end of the freedom, at the end of the sculpture park, there's this huge wall that is the National Monument to Freedom. Very, beautiful structure. And if you've ever been down there, you know that they have all the last names.
That's right.
They have Smiley down there. They have Makin down there. And so we found my last name and my son's last name. And so he was able to see that. And it was just a really great experience. And really just continuing in just some of the conversations that we have, I would say, on a regular basis, just about Black history, and not just Black history, but also, the Black present and understanding things not just from an American lens, but an international lens. So that is really what inspired this piece. And of course, when you talk about, again, what Trump, is whitewashing. That's exactly what's happening, as it relates to the Smithsonian and other museums. But I think even if you go back and look at just Trump's Truth Social post, it's woke is broke, it's slavery is bad. And the very troubling thing, well, there are a lot of troubling things, obviously, about that post. But this idea of Black history being limited to slavery, being limited to oppression and pain. I think even if you go to the Smithsonian, I've had the good fortune to go to the Smithsonian Museum there in DC, the Blacksonian.
Sure.
It's not solely about slavery. It is about the Black experience. It is about Black culture. It's about resistance. And so when someone who, as near as I can tell, if he's been to the museum, I can't tell. I'm talking about the president. Because again, there's so much culture and pride and influence when you go there. And again, just wanted to mention that, and also, to mention the incomparable, the late great John Hope Franklin, to be able to mention him in the piece as well, which was so vitally important.
Yeah. A couple of things. For starters, Brian Stevenson's one of my favorite people in the world. One of my favorite people in the whole world is Brian Stevenson. I love him dearly. I got to call Brian. Just you mentioned his name. I haven't talked to him in a while. But I love his work and his witness over the years, freeing all these wrongfully incarcerated persons from prisons all across this country. The work he's done in Montgomery that you visited. Brian Stevenson is as great an American as we've ever had. I often say that every race of people ought to be judged by the best they've been able to produce, not the worst. And Brian Stevenson is among the best our people have ever created. And so you mentioned his name. I just had a big smile on my face because I not only know him, but have such a deep love and respect for the work that Brian Stevenson has and continues to do. But I'm glad you made that pivot to the Smithsonian, the Blacksonian, and the attack that it's under, and Donald Trump, putting upon the work and witness that they engage every single day, because it underscores why this history is in fact so important. What I'm fascinated to know, and I'm just going to tee this up now when we come forward, I want to get your answer. What I'm fascinated to know is how, more about how you had that conversation with your son. Because when I read the piece, it just jumped out at me, his question. His question was so powerful about why these Black folk are in chains. And I'm always fascinated by the way that parents find ways to talk to their children. I, of course, remember my youth. And as I mentioned earlier, I was with my mom just last week when she celebrated her 80th birthday, and we had some good conversations about just life and our journey together as mother and son, and reflected on some funny moments in our life as she again was turning 80. And I remember some difficult conversations my parents had to have with me, my mother and my father. And those conversations, I'm 60 years old now, those conversations have never left me. When my parents had to talk to me about difficult things that I had done wrong, they had to correct me on, history they wanted to share with me. But I'm fascinated by the way that parents go about talking to their children about things like slavery. So when we come forward, I want to hear a bit more about what Ken said to his son, how he explained to his son the answer to that question: why do these Black people have chains on? You're listening to Ken Makin on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilmember Curran Price, inviting you to the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September the 20th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We've got 4 pavilions, 3 stages of live music, plus food, fun, and a marketplace all along historic Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Ave. Our featured acts this year are Gregory Porter, Pancho Sanchez, and Jasmine Horn at the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September 20th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. along Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Come out and bring the whole family because this legendary celebration is free. For more information, go to centralavjazzfest.com. I'm LA Councilmember Curran Price, and I absolutely approve this message.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley, in the cultural commentator for the Christian Science Monitor, Makin, has written a powerful piece for the Christian Science Monitor called "I Told My Son About Slavery, Then I Told Him About Freedom," once his son asked this question about why these black people have chains on them. Watching my time here, Ken, tell me more about what you actually said to your son when he asked that question. Again, Dad, why do those black people have chains on them?
Oh, I was very specific with him in terms of, explaining, that they were enslaved and, the period of time in which they were enslaved. Mm-hmm. So as I mentioned before, the sculpture part does a great job of kind of outlaying that. But I, specifically said to him, and I think telling that truth to your kids is important. Yeah. But I also want to say, in addition to that, in terms of, how I was raised with black facts. It was like a black kind of Trivial Pursuit type of game. Mm-hmm. So shout out to my parents who kind of instilled that in me. What I try to instill with my children is, a lot of books about, African Americans, about Africans, Kwame Nkrumah. There's a book back here about Arthur Schomburg of the Schomburg Center in Harlem. So, kind of tilling the ground, if you will, instilling that sense of culture and sense of pride. I think the reason why I think some parents are hesitant to explicitly mention slavery is because that is their baseline for Black history. Yeah. And so they don't want that to be the thing that really defines the Black experience for their children. I don't mind saying explicitly what slavery is, what slavery was to my son and to my sons, because again, I'm also very mindful of telling them about freedom, about telling them what it looked like, when those chains came off. Yeah. And what? Go ahead. That was my problem.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just thinking while you were talking. I mentioned my mother earlier, and being with her last week, and just kind of walking down memory lane about our mother-son relationship over the 60 years I've been her son and the 80 years she's been on the earth, and my mind just for some reason pivoted while you were talking to one of those stories that we did not talk about last week, but a story I've never forgotten. My parents would not let us watch Roots when it came out. It was a huge hit, of course, for ABC. that multiple night series, but my mother and father at that time felt that we needed to be protected from that. And I've talked to my mother about this over the years, here and there. And, parents don't always make the best decisions or right decisions. Parents are not perfect. I eventually, of course, saw Roots and have seen it more times than I can count now. But my parents thought we should be protected from seeing that at that moment. And I wish that I'd been exposed to Roots the minute it came out. Again, I caught up with it. I'm just processing the way parents go about making decisions about what their kids should be and should not be exposed to. And of course, some stuff is age appropriate and age inappropriate. But I'm just delighted that you were asked a question by your son and you went right at the answer, and not trying to shield him from this history. And the other thing that comes to my mind, and I want to get your take on this when we come forward in our remaining moments with Ken Makin in just a second here, how concerned we should be as a people as we get farther and farther away from Jim Crow and James Crow and Reconstruction and segregation, all the way back to slavery. The farther away we get from this, the less our children know about this. And if Donald Trump and Republicans have their way, the little that they do learn in school, they ain't going to know that anymore. What does it mean for our people long term when our children and our children's children and our children's children's children don't know their history? That's a major issue for me. We'll talk about that with Ken Makin when we come forward on Tavis, Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com, sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Ken Makin. Ken, I'm glad that you and your wife took your two children to Montgomery to see these powerful exhibits that Brian Stevenson has brought online. But again, as I said a moment ago, if Donald Trump and Republicans have their way, what little history is being taught in schools and in museums are going to be cast aside. And it raises concerns, at least for me, about what happens to a people as we continue this journey down this road when our offspring will end up, for a variety of reasons, not knowing vitally important history unless we, as you and your wife thankfully did, expose our kids to it.
Absolutely. And so I think it's extremely irresponsible seeing what we've seen, not just in recent months, but I would say years, and we could probably look through the history of this country, to rely on public education and to rely on, I think, traditional methods to teach our children. Like teaching our kids has been largely a radical endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have to maintain this, this idea of teaching within the home, teaching. I understand churches have challenges, but that has been essential when you look at the civil rights movement, and even before that. I just think we have to continue to look at not just radical ways of teaching our children, but also I think just ways that fully encapsulate the Black experience. I would even say, even predating Africans' time here in America, we have to look at that history. We have to be willing to share with our children, and it has to be more than what they might get in the school book. It has to be, hey, let's go to where there's museums or venues, or one of my favorite endeavors is to look at historical markers.
Mm-hmm.
Historical markers are great indicators of history, and always have a story to tell. And so that it has to be something that is perpetuated. It can't just be something that you may learn, during a month or during maybe 45 minutes during school. It has to be something that, and it's something that again just needs to be perpetuated and really needs to be celebrated.
I've got a minute to go, and I want to give it to you right quickly, just 60 seconds here. I am fascinated to know how your son received or engaged that conversation.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he was in class yesterday. He goes to a private religious institution, Christian school, and so I'm always having to kind of, restructure what they're, what is taught to him. He was talking about the Revolutionary War, and no, son, we got to talk about that in a different way. We got to talk about what freedom means to Black people, not necessarily to American people. So, but he took it very well.
No, I love to hear that. Love to hear that. His name is Ken Makin. That's what Makin. He's the cultural commentator for the Christian Science Monitor. His piece is entitled, "I Told My Son About Slavery, Then I Told Him About Freedom." I love the frame that Ken has for this particular piece. Our history is not just about slavery, Donald Trump. It is also about freedom, or the freedom struggle that is ongoing, and made all the more difficult because of Donald Trump being back in the White House. But I digress on that point. Ken, brilliant piece. Thanks for the conversation, my friend. All the best to you and your family.
Thank you so much, and happy birthday to your mom.
Oh, I'm sure she heard that. Thank you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A federal judge has halted construction at Florida's Alligator Alcatraz, a migrant detainee center. Environmentalists say the site harmed wildlife.
With all that traffic going over there, all that light pollution going in there, all that noise, that, in my opinion, no question, has altered wildlife in the area.
The state is appealing. Kalila Few, a Black woman, is suing Clayton County, Georgia after officials denied her salon permit despite $40,000 in renovations. Few says the rejection was arbitrary and devastating. Her attorney argues it violates her constitutional rights. And Black twin brothers Jamil and Jalal Paul are now pilots for United